Hello, everyone. What a lovely introduction. Thank you so much, Noga. My name is Tal Heinrich, and I'm a news anchor and journalist here based in New York. And I will be hosting this session. We call it We Can Work It Out, Working Parents in the New Norm. So we are going to discuss the changes, how to adjust to a new reality, and mainly talk about what we should be doing right now in order to be better prepared for the workplace of the future. We will talk about the challenges, the struggles, and also the success stories and some tips of how to juggle between parenting and working during COVID times. So I would just like to mention that we are following your comments, your questions, your notes in the comment section. We're getting it all here, and we will try to address them as we go. And now I have the pleasure of introducing you to our very, very lovely panel. By the way, I'm not a parent myself, but our experts today are. Adi Yofe is a business futurist and the author of Next, a Manual for Disruption. Her company, Fast Forward, is an expert in forecasting business and social trends. She also teaches at the IDC and Herzliya. Adi is joining us from Ramat HaSharon in Israel. Nirit Cohen is a strategist and a blogger. She founded Work Futures, which analyzes strategies for the workplace of the future. How can we prepare for it? How can we stay relevant? And what are the implications on careers, managers, and organizations, as well as the broader impact on society, education, and the labor market? Nirit is also joining us from Israel. Dr. Michal Paz Shimoni is the head of the organizational department at Meitiv Center. She has a PhD in organizational psychology. She has consulted numerous groups, organizations, educational institutions, and individual managers going through a process of development and change. Dr. Michal is joining us from Israel, and congratulations, by the way. She just moved into a new apartment, so excuse Michal for the white background today. Ilan Devon is an author, speaker, and founder of the Devon Academy. It's an organization that prepares students and young professionals for success in an age of disruption by focusing on soft skills development. Ilan resides in Canada, where they sure have it quite better on COVID. Besides being the only man in our panel today, he is also a dear friend and the only one that I had the opportunity to meet with face-to-face, since he is the brother of my dear friend Michal Devon, who is also hosting a panel as part of this IAC conference. So guys, so great to have you all and see your lovely faces. And I would like to start with a round robin kind of a quick question to all of you, and please be very brief and take 30 seconds to answer this. Ilan, I will start with you. What has been your worst or your best COVID-related professional experience so far?
Okay, so I'll give you two. I'll give you both. Actually, my worst COVID experience is actually getting COVID. I had COVID-19 for many weeks. It wasn't easy. It wasn't pleasant. But it's also provided opportunities. So the best, experience around COVID is having the whole e-learning experience being normalized now, and how the world coming in, and it's allowed me to have, and our academy to have so many opportunities that we wouldn't have previously, like being in this amazing panel. So I've seen both sides of it.
I hear you. Adi, you next. What has been your best or worst COVID experience?
So for me, as a Polish mother, it was quite a catastrophic experience at the beginning. But I wrote a book about disruption, and then we had this disruption, and I said to myself, okay, you had your forecasting became reality, so here you go. And so my best experience was that I found myself more and more talking to global audiences through Zoom and other platforms. It was very beneficial for me and for other audiences that here in Israel, I don't reach them on a daily basis, and it was really nice.
And Michal, your experience?
I might say that when I started thinking about the question, I thought that in the same day, I had my worst and my best experience throughout COVID. I think that represents COVID for me. Moment of being present and having an intimate conversation with my kids, and then a moment that I need them to be quiet and I'm giving a lecture to so many people, and I'm finding myself, moving between those moments. I think my best was learning the piano. I started learning the piano via an app in COVID-19, and I realized you can really learn new skills alone, remotely.
And Mirit, what about you? Have you tried out any new instruments?
No, not instruments, but I have to tell you something else. For me, 2020 for a long, long time was the future. I started looking at the future of work back in 2008, and convincing people that it was coming and things were going to change. So suddenly the future was here, literally, and things changed. Not quite for the reasons I thought they would, but I think my best experience was not having to try to convince people it was changing and just moving on to what are we going to do about it now.
So that's exactly what we are going to talk about now. Adi Yofe, I would like to get right to it. As someone who specializes in foreseeing trends and reading the map of the business world correctly, I would like to ask you, what is your most important advice to parents who are watching us right now, or people watching us who are either looking to find new jobs or are trying to utilize the COVID times to better position themselves in their own field and reroute their career path?
So I think that my best advice would be to adopt new skills, and one, we have like a list of future must-have skills that everybody should adopt in this reality, and one of them is the future thinking skill. It's about a new muscle, a new mindset that I believe that everybody, no matter who he is, in which profession, entrepreneur, working in an organization, should adopt. But the thing is that when we are talking about future thinking, people will tell me, will say, we cannot predict the future. So how can we think about the future if we cannot predict the future? And this is something, if I can elaborate in this 1 to 3 minutes, if I have. The thing is with the future is that in order to understand the future, we need to understand the current reality. And the current reality is a disruptive reality. It's not just about the COVID thing. I'm talking about disruptions, about disruptive reality since, like Mirit says, 2008, and I'm talking since 2007. Our mindset should be changed because every time we have a different disruption. So now we have the COVID, it's a robust disruption, but we are not talking about disruption. What about the political situation? What about technologies? What about social, protests? Everything in our life is a disruption. So if we'll change our mindset and we'll say to ourselves that we cannot look for the new normal. The name of this session is the new normal, and I'm saying the abnormal is the new normal. It's always the abnormal. So we need to change the way we think. We need to map the current every day like a muscle. Like we go into the gym, we need to change and shift the way we look on reality. It's not just about looking at the past and thinking, okay, we'll have this COVID and the COVID will pass in the summer, and in the summer it will be again the new normal. No, we'll have another disruption and another disruption. So we need to change the way we look on reality. So I want to suggest 3 different looks. One look should be to look on a different category around us. It's not just about the future of our category, of our work, of our profession. It's about looking around and trying to understand which circles, which categories are going to change our reality in the future. And it's not just about COVID, it's about everyday work. Another thing to look at is to look on what we call on the future work is the megatrends. What are the megatrends that are going to influence or to impact your business or your work or your profession in the future? Could it be something that comes from another category, not your category, such as, personalization? It's a megatrend. So it first begins with technology, and now we can see it everywhere. What about remote? Started from technology, and now we can see it everywhere. So what are the challenge is to map those megatrends on a daily, not on a daily basis, but every year, for example. And the third one is to look on changes. Maybe we'll get to it further, but let's talk about changes that we can map now. When people are changing their behavior, there is an opportunity. And what are the opportunities? So now we are at home, what are the opportunities? People are working from remotely, what is the opportunity? So the work is an ongoing work, and the important thing is not to think about the normal. There is no normal. The abnormal is the new.
There's a lot to unpack here, and I feel like you're talking right to me, I would say, because I've been waiting for after the holidays, after Labor Day, as we say here in the United States. So forget about it, Tal. Dr. Michal Paz-Shimoni, next, I would like to talk to you, because when I was going over your bio and reading into your work experience and expertise, two words that Adi just mentioned really jumped out to me, and that is change and opportunity. On one hand, I keep hearing that COVID times, it's not the times for changes. You know, it's kind of a period of try to write it out, hold on to what you got, keep your head above the water, just try to float. On the other hand, this period has provided us with more time to think about priorities in life, career, parenting, which is our topic for today. And some of us have probably realized that we do need to make some changes in our lives. So how do you see this period? Is it a time for changes? Who will get to benefits from opportunities that this period might bring?
So I think it's a really important question, and it actually resonates with what Adi said. It's never a good time for a change, right? People want to bring about changes to their lives, and they always have those inner voices that blocks them from doing so. It's either mental barriers, it's either limitation, financial worries. It's always, okay, well, I'll finish this year working in something I don't like, that doesn't realize my dreams, my passions, my strength, and I'll wait so my kids will be older, or I'll have another baby, or my husband, etc., etc. So I think it's always, we always have like those limitations, barriers that don't allow us to bring change to our lives. So I must say that I think that COVID is an opportunity to bring about changes to our lives, even though it sounds so difficult, and it's about surviving. You know, Freud, who funded psychology as a science, used to say, we're going to suffer all the time. So it's just about functioning within suffering. We're going to suffer. Life is very complicated. Pain is so big, and it's just about surviving. And positive psychology, an area that I did my PhD in, and I love, and I'm so connected to. It's not about surviving. It's about bringing satisfaction and happiness and joy. So when I think about my personal life and my professional life, I'm thinking about, well, I didn't choose this COVID to happen, and there's so many challenges and so many difficulties. But now that it's here, how can I bring the best within this period of time? So I can give you examples. You know, when you look at it from a professional standpoint, I'm giving lectures all the time, and I teach, and I'm not giving enough volume to other passions in my life. For example, writing and reflecting. And when COVID started, I told myself, well, this is a good opportunity. I'll start thinking and writing and maybe publish some articles, etc. And then after 3 to 4 days, my customers and organizations ask for lectures via the Zoom, which I didn't know what it is until now. I can't believe not knowing what the Zoom is. It's like not knowing where's the coffee machine at our home. Anyway, and after 2 or 3 weeks, I was so overwhelmed with so many lectures, and I told myself, well, routine is all over again. And I had excuses. I need this, I need it financially. I don't know when this period will come to an end, so we need to survive it financially. So I said yes to all the lectures. And then after a month, I told myself again, you're finding excuses not to realize one of your dreams, one of your passions. So I said no to some things, and I started writing, and I published an article in the Science, in the newspaper. I started doing a podcast, and I told myself, you know, this is a period when you want to realize one of the things you love. So I hope everybody can say to themselves right now when you're listening to us, what is a passion that I have that maybe this period will help me give this passion some volume? What strengths do I want to play to? Those kind of assets will stay when this period will end. We will be a better, maybe stronger version of ourselves. And it's also true for me as a parent. I thought, what kind of things I'm not doing in routine life with my kids that I can start doing right now?
I love your positivity. Nirit, one of the main struggles for families right now, for parents, is the uncertainty around the school year. It's happening in Israel, in the United States, and also I assume in Canada, Ilan. As parents, we want to know that the education that our children are getting is something that's going to prepare them for the future. So Nirit, what do you have to say or recommend to parents who are struggling with these questions right now and maybe feel out of control?
You know, I think it's interesting. We have been for quite some time feeling uncomfortable with whether school as it is today is preparing our children for the future of work and the future lives that they will be living. And so here comes a big change. And I totally agree with what Adi said before, right? This is not the last change we will experience, maybe not even probably the last big disruption we will have in our lives. And so we go to the gym because we do not exercise our muscles, all of the ones that we want to exercise in day-to-day living. So this is a one big gym for exercising the muscles that we need for capabilities and skills and experiences and being able to work with, live with and interact with something that's changing around us that we do not control. This is a wonderful gym for capabilities that we will all need in the future of work as just people living in it and also working in it. And so I think if we look at everything we do from this perspective, instead of struggling with the hardship of how to learn when the kids are not in school, right? Then we basically say, so this is the kind of lives they will be living and leading. How do we help them explore what they can do with it? The learning offline and then using the classes for other things, interacting with people through different kinds of media. And then how do you actually keep the relationships and the personal space going? And the same goes for us and for how we work, right? It's not easy to work and just keep everything going in this kind of period where the disruption is so big. But the more we exercise these muscles, the more we'll grow as people, as parents, and definitely our children.
Ilan, as part of your work at the Devon Academy, and I want to follow up on things that Nirit just mentioned, you work with both high school students and also their parents. What is your biggest advice to parents and students in terms of getting prepared for the future and navigating through COVID?
So excellent question. So the biggest piece of advice I would give to parents and to students right now is to really consider what skills are going to make you successful long-term. What are the skills that employers are actually looking for? And going back to even our previous speaker, Dr. Yuval, talking about the story changing. Well, the story has changed dramatically because even before COVID, knowledge is no longer a big commodity like it used to be. That's because today you can access knowledge, right, from anywhere, at any time, no matter who you are, where you are, as long as you have a smartphone and a wireless connection. So knowledge is not the big deal anymore. And a lot of parents are realizing, are questioning whether they have to pay $200,000 to get a university degree, to learn a bunch of knowledge that you're going to forget anyway, and which can be learned online. And so the name of the game today, in which really we need to change our focus as we think about the future and future success, is skills. Today, employers are not looking for graduates with high GPA scores and high IQs. They are looking for graduates with grit, with initiative, with collaboration skills, with communication skills, with resourcefulness, with all the soft skills that unfortunately technology is eroding and that schools aren't teaching today. So soft skills is the name of the game. And just to put it in context, the old model or the old story was all about, if I had a high IQ, I'm smart, I got great technical skills, I'm going to be successful. Well, today, that only accounts for about 25% of your long-term success. And it turns out that 75% of a person's long-term success is predicted and predicated on three simple things: on your mindset, on your emotional intelligence, and three, on your ability to handle stress and adversity. So my biggest recommendation is focus on soft skills. The knowledge will come, your employer can train you on the knowledge, but the soft skills is something you need to learn.
Nirit, I think you would like to follow up on that because I know it's also your field. And, I'm reading these headlines, for example, that long discussions about the erosion of academic higher education, that Google, for example, they're starting their new online academy now, and people will be able to take professional courses online. And in primary and secondary education, I guess many people, especially in the United States, have discovered that homeschooling might not be such a bad idea, especially, with the political atmosphere right now. People are watching TV and asking themselves, what are they really teaching my kids there in college or in school? Is it political brainwashing or etc.? So what trends do you recognize in education, and what would you recommend to parents?
So, and we're also seeing some of the comments here ask, so if this is a one big gym, what are the skills, right? I think that's really the gap, because what we have a school system and an education system that is mostly around content. So somebody has all the knowledge in their brains and they prepare a presentation, and we passively sit in the background and take notes, and then we have a test to check whether we've learned the content. The world doesn't work that way anymore. The knowledge doesn't exist in someone's head. We certainly cannot be passive, right? And so, and a test doesn't measure, because what has answers is not really what you're going to work on. You're going to work on questions, most likely questions that don't even exist. So I think what we really want to teach children and also ourselves, right, is more around the how and less around the what. So it's really the ability to think of yourself professionally, not so much in terms of this is my job, this is my skill set, this is my capabilities, but learn and unlearn and relearn and be able to test what you know and what you need to know against a changing world all the time. There are a million content elements out there today, very high, good quality content, classes of all sorts, free on the web. And so, we should ask ourselves, what have you taken? Have you taken time for learning, time, money, and attention for actually learning new things? And they don't even need to be, there doesn't need to be a reason why you learn them. This isn't your employer sending you to teach to learn a class, or you're teaching you, telling you there's homework. So turning this from passive to active, wanting and understanding that we need to constantly do this. And then, of course, there are a lot of other elements to this. We no longer work as individuals, we work as teams. So learning isn't something you do with, the Zoom screen and a teacher on the other side, and we don't do it either this way. We have to learn from each other. We have to learn to contribute content and to bring content. It's not so much about what you know anymore. It's about who you know that knows, and how do you know how to get there.
I really like your takes on soft skills, something that Ilan also mentioned. And I see a comment here from Ayelet. She says, Elu hakelim sherochshim be'itanim. These are the tools that you acquire at the Eitanim project of the Eitanim system of the IAC. So this is something to keep in mind. The IAC is also providing you with your children, with soft skills. I just want to circle back to the future of the workplace and navigating through COVID. And Adi, this one is for you, because you mentioned that this recent period has accelerated a process that you refer to as changing hierarchies. Can you explain this concept?
It's exactly what you said now. The falling of hierarchies is a term coined by Fred Wilson, which is a VC, American VC investor. He coined this term in 2013. And he tried to describe a process in which traditional hierarchies are falling because of an interesting process. There is new alternatives, new options that are becoming the new hierarchies. And I think that he mentioned, originally he talked about what happened in the business arena, but if we'll take this process and we look on the education system, which is a traditional hierarchy. And when we were kids, the education system was the only solo supplier of knowledge. And this is why we respected so much the teacher and the principal and everything in this system. And now we are living in a world in which there are new technologies, new hierarchies, and they are cheaper, they are more relevant, they are more available, and they are really talking in a language in which our kids can engage better. So the traditional hierarchy is standing in their basic role, and they are trying to understand what their value, what are their future value. What is the future value of traditional hierarchies? And I think this is one of the strategic challenges of traditional hierarchies as a whole. Traditional retail, traditional education, universities, they are all trying to find their relevant value. And I think even if we are talking about parents, if we take this process, these megatrends, into families, we can see that maybe, I'm just being a bit provocative, but maybe the parental authority is falling because of this megatrend. I'm not sure. I think that there are voices that are saying that the value of a parent changed because of this falling of hierarchies trend.
Ilan, there's an interesting question in the chat here. It's addressed to you, and it's wait, I want to see the name so I can print it. It's from Shir Nakash. She's asking, I think GPA and IQ became factors employers look for because they're measurable. Ilan, how do you suggest they go about measuring soft skills if it is in fact something you can even measure?
Great question. So it's true that it's harder to measure soft skills, but it doesn't mean that we can't measure them. And there's a lot of companies today and experts that are starting to learn how to measure, I think, measure soft skills. So, you know, you can measure behavioral changes and you can measure ultimately the outcomes. So how sales conversions, customer ratings. So soft skills, for example, being communication skills and your ability to influence and connect with a client. That's going to be measured ultimately through, all those things, hard outcomes like sales, customer ratings, engagement, and so forth. So it is possible to measure these things. And I think that soft skills really is a big part of our future. I think, going back to the previous questions of how the workforce and higher education is changing, I think the whole notion today of micro credentials and electronic badges and smaller certifications are going to be more important because this is what employers are starting to pay more attention to, are those more smaller credentials and skills that can be measured, that they're starting to be measured in the workforce.
Actually, there's a lot of articles just now about measuring soft skills. I think it's a really good question. For example, Google started measuring what differentiates the best teams from all the rest. And they actually took all the teams at Google, it's a lot of teams, and they tried to ask the question, what differentiates the best teams from all the rest? And they figured out that having a bunch of extremely smart individuals together as a team is not enough. It doesn't form a good team. So it's exactly what Ilan is saying. And they watched the teams doing tasks. It can be all kind of tasks, from difficult ones to more easy ones. And they found out that actually the amount of time per talker is a very big differentiator. When you sit in a team meeting, and I'm talking about it with managers and also over a family dinner with parents, when you sit as a group and you say, well, everybody spoke the same amount of time, you know that people are listening, that people are not dominating the discussion. You know how managers, they tend to talk 80% of the team meeting and then saying the meeting was great. So it's about listening, and you can measure listening, and actually listening is one of the most important assets that propel you to success. So it's as a parent, and I think when you think about soft skills, this is what we do at Metiv Center. We teach teachers to teach students soft skills, and there's all kind of tools you can do it. Maybe I'll provide you with just one named RBS. It's Reflected Best Self. It's from Harvard University, and it's exactly this ability for teachers to say to the students when they see someone doing a good how and not a good what, exactly as we said before. So say something about it. When you see your child search for something for an hour, say, wow, was so resourceful. This is so resourceful for you to look so much, regardless if he found it or not. When you see someone gives something, being flexible, demonstrating a skill that we value, you can pause and say, I saw that you were extremely flexible right now. Not just say you're genius, you're a star, this was a good result.
And if I can connect this to the concept of this being the big gym for us to exercise these new skills, some of the best tips out there on how to make effective remote screen-based conversations are giving enough time to everyone to speak around the table, actually talking about how you feel, not just what you want to say, asking people questions, listening,
Exactly.
and formulating an answer. So what you just described is really a wonderful way to practice. It also elevates our effectiveness over screens versus in the face-to-face conversations.
Before we wrap it out, to conclude our conversation, I would like to give each one of you just a short sentence, or in 2 words, really. What do you wish that people will take away from this conversation? If there's one advice, Adi.
Oh, always starts with me. So I think that really the future thinking is a must-have skill for everyone. I think that it's one of the things that we should do on a daily basis. It's about mapping reality, mapping new phenomena, trying to understand what's going to influence our profession, our lives, our business. And it's really a muscle that we should work with. And to remember that we live in a disruptive reality, and we should change our mindset, and sooner the better.
Michal, your advice, briefly, please.
I would say listening to yourself and crystallizing your own strength, and then listening to others. Try to help them identify their own strength as a parent, as a manager, as a CEO.
I hope they hear you all the way to Washington and Jerusalem. Ilan, your advice?
Advice would be to simply take COVID in context. Think about the day after COVID, because there's going to be a day, the day after COVID is going to happen. And think about the skills that you need to have to be successful in this disruptive, crazy world. So skill.
Nirit?
I think future fit requires sometimes that we let ourselves go into the free fall and discover what we don't know that we don't know. I think this is a wonderful opportunity. Embrace it.
That's great. I love all of your advices. I'm adopting some for me. So on behalf of the Israeli American Council, I would like to thank all of you for being with us today and watching us, and thank our experts, Adi Yofen, Nirit Cohen, Dr. Michal Paz Shimoni, Ilan Divon. Thank you for really your wonderful ideas and perspective, and thank you for joining us. You can also keep in touch with our experts via social media and so on. I had the pleasure of being your host for this session today, Tal Heinrich in New York. See you very soon, hopefully.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.